guys, what's up and welcome back to my channel. So today we will be covering a story that is both grim and surreal. I'm just gonna get into it because I feel like I'm about to already get heated. Let's just go. Woman befriends the serial killer who murdered her mother. Says he's now like a father. Jennifer Weiss's unlikely friendship with Richard Cottingham, also known as the Torso Killer, has helped her learn more about her mother and may even bring closure to the family of other victims. I thought my dad was bad, but choosing a murderer, and no less the murderer of your mother and other people as your father figure, everyone's free to make their life choices, and I think the only good thing that could come out of this is other families getting closure if he shares certain things with them that might give them closure. Even though if it's the murderer, I don't know how seriously I take them. I can't relate to this in the least. I think most people I know, if they think of the scenario of one of their family members being murdered, most people I know would want to go out and murder the murderer. So to befriend and make them into your father figure, I have so many questions. Could you forgive someone if they killed your mother? Could you befriend them? One New Jersey woman has done just that and now even considers her mom's killer to be something of a father figure. As odd as that may sound, her relationship with the man has yielded some practical benefits. She views it as a way to learn about her mother and to help bring a sense of closure and justice to the families of the other victims. Jennifer Weiss's mom, I apologize if I mispronounce, I looked but I couldn't find the pronunciation, Edinger Ave, was found dead along another unidentified woman in a Times Square motel room in 1979. The 22-year-old's death appeared brutal. She had been beheaded and set on fire and her skull has yet to be found. Her killer, Richard Cottingham, was a computer operator married with 3 children of his own, living a seemingly normal life, but beneath the veneer of normalcy was a heinous double existence as a serial killer. Obviously, I'm not a victim of any sorts of murder in the sense of nobody in my family has been murdered, so I don't know what it's like, and whatever people need to do to feel better, go ahead and do it as long as it's not hurting other people. I guess the thing that would bother me is I don't want this serial killer to suddenly feel any less guilty just because someone is giving him a chance. Does that make sense? I wouldn't want a serial killer to think, oh well, the daughters of one of my victims is okay with me or we're friends now, so they have this weight lifted off them. Like, they deserve all the weight they get and more. That's all I'm concerned about, along with the well-being of someone who's befriending a serial killer. Known as the Torso Killer, due to his habit of dismembering his later victims, he also chopped off the hands of his victims in order to mask their identities and skirt charges according to the Bergen record. Cottingham was arrested for a string of deaths in the early 1980s. His 1984 conviction for Goddard's slaying was one of 6 in New York and New Jersey, though he allegedly claimed to have killed up to 100. Earlier this year, he confessed to killing 3 teen girls by strangulation between 1968 and 1969, Bergen County prosecutor Mark Masella told NJ.com. Despite the horrific crimes he committed, Weiss told Oxygen that she now visits Cottingham in prison a few times a month. In fact, she's visited him more than 30 times and now thinks of him like a father. As many daughters do with their boomer relatives, she helps him figure out how to use his iPad. In a picture of the pair, Weiss mimics strangling him, ironic because that was his modus operandi for killing his victims. It's truly an unlikely pair. Weiss said she felt inclined to meet Cottingham ever since she found out her mother was one of his victims in 2002. I don't know how I feel about this picture considering the circumstances. It makes me feel weird. I'm not offended by it as much as like, it just skeeves me the fuck out. I feel uncomfortable. Maybe because it's a picture of a serial killer. I have to say, I understand wanting to talk to a murderer of a family member, especially like a mother or a father, to understand what happened. I would probably want that too. To bring it to the level of them being a father figure though, I can't conceive that. It makes 0 sense to me. I feel like that can't really be super healthy for your brain, can it? Can you really separate someone from what they did? In this case, no, because she literally befriended him in order to get information, but it's also like, how do you see him as a person other than the person who ended your mother's life merely in her 20s? She's definitely a stronger person than I am because I cannot conceptualize being friends with someone who killed someone I care about. I cannot get past that. I would never get past that. And on the contrary, if I ever spoke to them, I'd probably be extremely mean, extremely extremely cruel. The worst parts of me would surely come out. Like I said, whatever you need to do, if that helps her, that's totally fine. I just wonder if it's entirely healthy. I always knew I was going to befriend him for information, she told Oxygen. That's something I knew even when I didn't know if I was going to approach him. But before meeting him, she knew she had to prepare herself first. In order to do this, I had to build up actual forgiveness and love, she said, adding that she could have gone there with anger and had so many ways to thrash him, but decided to take a different route. What meant more was this was a human being, she said. I had to go there with love and respect, and I had to respect this whole man because he was put on the planet to do all these tragic things. Before actually meeting Cottingham, she began writing to him. This is where I will respectfully disagree. I suppose there's a kind of like little terms and conditions on the way I give people respect, because if you murder, if you rape, if you assault, if you're a pedophile, you do not get my standard respect package, which I give to every other human I might meet. If you have knowingly caused someone harm, ended their life, caused them terrible traumas that fuck them up for life, sorry, I'm not gonna come to you and give you the same amount of respect I give the barista at Starbucks, because you don't deserve that. Is that mean? Maybe, but considering I dealt with a female predator when I was younger, the sole concept of me giving her respect when she didn't respect me as a child who cannot consent, sorry bitch, not today, not ever in my book. She's entitled to forgive him for murdering her mother because that's her mother, but it's like all the other victims, she can't speak for them and she didn't. But it's also like, I wouldn't feel comfortable respecting someone who did that to multiple people that I can't take the apology for. Does that make sense? Also, I want to say, don't look this up, but in doing research for this, I unfortunately came across pictures of the crime scenes. If you see that, it's a lot harder to just see this as a normal human being. And also, the fact that she said he was put on this planet to do all these tragic things, I believe in ownership of your own actions. If he has mental health problems, it's different, but nonetheless, it's not like you're put here and you have no control on anything ever. I don't believe that. If you can be credited for the good, believe you me, you are gonna be credited for the bad. I wrote to him and said, you're gonna be blown away by me and I'm gonna make you cry, she said. Your friends are going to be jealous when they see me come and visit you. I'm so cool and I'm so kind. You should be honored to have someone like me as a friend. During their first meeting at New Jersey State Prison in 2017, she drove right into the important questions. How did he know her mother? Could he be her biological father? Cottingham told Weiss that he had known her mother for a few years, and while she said Cottingham told her it's possible but not probable that he's her father, they have not yet taken any paternity test. Related by blood or not, Weiss told Oxygen that she cares about him like family and I treat him like a daughter would. This is so completely unrelatable to me that I'm kind of in a state of shock considering this, and like I said, stronger person than me because I could never. That type of forgiveness would not come out of me in the least. Also, can I just say what she wrote hits me as kind of weird. You're gonna be blown away by me. I'm gonna make you cry. That's something I would say, but your friends are gonna be jealous. I'm so cool and I'm so kind. I don't know. I just felt like that's a weird thing to say, but then again, I'm not in that position, so maybe it's not. As their strange friendship blossomed, Weiss told Oxygen that she has seen some positive change in the torso killer and that she has observed empathy in him. She said she watched him cry when he found out that one of his victims was discovered by her sister and how badly it affected her. Weiss said her friendship with Cottingham has also made her feel close to her mother, whom she knew very little about. Now, I'm happy that she feels closer to her mother. I'm happy something good could come of these tragedies. That being said, seeing improvement in the torso killer, if you start, let's say this is ground. If you start all the way down here to the point where you can't even see my hand, like let's say you're starting all the way down here on the floor. Improvement isn't that hard when you're a piece of shit. You know what I mean? If you're starting from a very low bar, that of a murderer, seeing improvement would be having them have a tiny bit of empathy. So he doesn't even reach base level for me. So seeing improvement, that's great, I guess, but it's too little too late for me because he's already caused all this tragedy. And that's not to say that I don't think people can be rehabilitated. Well, I don't think everyone can be rehabilitated. I think people should try to improve, and I appreciate any effort to try to improve. That being said, you trying to improve and you improving in a minute little way like a murderer would, I'm not gonna pat you on the back, but keep going. She had a sad life through what I've seen, she said. The photo used in the press was something her friend took. All the other photos I I took of her are mugshots. In photos of her as a child, she didn't look happy. I wanted to see happiness somewhere. Godarzi was working as a sex worker when she was killed. Her family had fled Iran when she was a young child, and Weiss feels that her traumatic beginnings influenced her decision to get into sex work. Weiss said her friendship with Cottingham has already helped bring some resolution to some of his many crimes. She told NJ.com her conversations with Cottingham actually led him getting officially linked to the 3 unsolved teen murders earlier this year. The Bergen County Prosecutor's Office has not returned Oxygen's request to confirm that. That's one of the very few good things that have come out of this, and if I were to befriend, quote unquote, a murderer, it would be for the sole reason to get information, and then I would get the fuck out of there. End. So I'm glad that at least there is some closure. Clinically speaking, there's closure in that we know he was the killer linked to so-and-so. Emotional closure, different story. Jennifer's approach to Cottingham with forgiveness and friendship has made it easier for him to confess to other murders, serial expert and author Peter Vronsky told Oxygen. Weiss hopes that continuing to talk to him will also lead to the discovery of her mother's skull. I'd love to sort through the mess he made, she said. It's like, come on, Dad, we gotta pick up these pieces because he's so old. Sometimes when I talk to him, I'll say, while snapping her fingers, hey Pops, to bring him back to let's do this for humanity, because he has no desire to do anything for humanity. She said Cottingham doesn't have any genuine interest in helping bring closure to anyone, but he does want to help her because of their friendship. It's like anytime I want to give a tiny bit of credit to this POS, she'll say something where I'm like, no, I was right initially. No credit to you, bitch. Not her, I'm talking about the killer. I appreciate what she's doing because I do think it's important to link him to the murders that he committed. That being said, the concept of me sitting in front of someone who murdered my mother and we don't even have her skull, like that's still missing. Lord give me strength, I would fucking. The fact that she calls him dad when talking to him about her mother's skull weirds me out. But like I said, that's her prerogative to refer to whoever as she wants. The fact that he has no desire to do anything for humanity, it makes it hard for me to believe that he would want to do something for her but not for humanity at all. Like, what's the difference here? Maybe she's an exception. Jennifer has given him some positive motive to make his confessions, assuring him that while she cannot guarantee how other victims' families will respond, on her part she extends her friendship and support in every confession he makes, Vronsky told Oxygen. At this point, with Cottingham never getting out of prison, the most important thing is resolution and truth in those unsolved cold cases, not justice or punishment. Cottingham is never getting out. There's still victim family members who don't know what happened to their loved ones. It may not offer closure. There is never closure for families, but resolution at least. So their friendship, while non-traditional and perhaps morbid, could be beneficial for many in the long run. He doesn't want to do it, but he did promise he'd do it for me, Weiss told Oxygen. Now, I completely agree. I do want the family of the victims to have closure, like I said, at least clinical closure and knowing what happened, and then what they do from there obviously is up to them. That being said, I don't feel too right about extending all this empathy his way when he didn't extend it. And I know, maybe that's a little bit harsh, but he chopped up people, so it is what it is. I feel kind of uncomfortable about all of this. Like I said, it's not my decision to make because I am in no way the victim or related to one of the victims, so it's not really up to me. I'm merely giving my opinion. I hope that the families can get some level of closure when they get the answers. I do think that it's very strange that he's her so-called father figure but still hasn't told her where her mother's skull is, if he remembers, which to me seems like maybe he doesn't care as much as she thinks he cares, or he's using her strategically, who knows. Anyways, guys, let me know what you think in the comments down below. This is definitely one of the weirder things we've talked about in relation to murder. So let me know your opinion. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you to my patrons as always, and let's get